Hi everyone, welcome to Guest Talks, where transformation meets conversation. I am Maggie, your host, and I sit down with coaches, healers, change makers who have transformed their obstacles into their stepping stones. Together, we talk about how their journey shaped them, the lessons they've learned, and how now they are able to help others to grow. Guest today is a spiritual business coach, a sound artist, a sound healing trainer, and a dear friend of mine, Danielle Klein. Hello, Danielle, and welcome to Guest Talks.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you today, Maggie.
Me too, Danielle. Okay, so let's dive right in. I love to start by asking about the origin story of my guest. So, would you be able to tell us what was like the turning point that put you in this personal growth path? Was there something specific, or was it a gradual thing? How did it come about for you?
So, if I were to go back and rewind to see when it was that this all started, was I definitely had little seeds from the universe that were being planted within me from even high school, college. I actually, fun fact, I actually was a events and promotions beer girl and then graduated to other brands, but like my first gig when I was in college for extra money was a Budweiser girl. So I was giving out samples at bars and restaurants and special events and everything. And it was great money. And it actually really got me out of my shell of being shy and being able to talk to people. But there was always something within me that said, I want to be doing this type of promotion and marketing and really helping people through health and wellness. Like, I want to do this, but with health. And that was always in the back of my mind. So that was kind of like a seed that was planted. But I just had no clue what the heck that was, like, okay, that'd be great, but how do I get there? What does it even look like? And fast forward years, I actually hit rock bottom with depression. And I had never experienced depression before. I was a very happy person, bubbly, energetic. And after a divorce and after moving to a different state and changing jobs, everything basically like was brand new.
Mm.
And then I hit depression. At first I was really excited about it and all this change and newness, and then all of a sudden I was just like, I don't even want to live anymore. Like, what's the point? What am I even here for? And that was really hard. I mean, it was to that point where I was even looking at ways to end it. And I just didn't think that anyone even cared that I was even here. And that was kind of the turning point that got me on this path. It was in that dark moment I was actually pet sitting at someone's house, and I was dog sitting. And when I thought, oh, I can't take my life when I'm at someone's house, I'm like
Mm.
watching this animal, I can't do that to them or this dog. And I feel like that's kind of what saved me in that moment to not actually do it, because of my love for and compassion for other people in that sense, and the animal. But it was in that moment that I said, God, if you even exist, because I didn't have a relationship with God at that time, if you even exist, like, what am I here for? Show me. What am I here to do? What's my purpose here? And then I just let that go. I let it out. I like screamed it, was crying, and then just little things kind of shifted and changed in my life. I'm not going to say it was like immediate next day kind of thing, but that was really how it all started. This
Wow.
path.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. That must have been really, really alienating in a way. Like even when I moved here to Sydney, I think I've experienced kind of like a maybe not depression, full blown depression, but I was definitely lost and I was like what am I even doing? Like, I have no friends, everything just was much more catastrophic in my head than ever before. And I didn't even know why. That's exactly it. It was like this lack of purpose and lack of guidance on what to do, or maybe even not being happy with what I was doing, because I did have a job. You probably had a job as well, but it was just like not really that fulfilling. Um,
Exactly.
I was smiling a little bit as you were saying this, because to me, when you said you were pet sitting, to me that's actually super significant, because um, animals are like, to me, they're like embodiment of unconditional love. I never grew up with animals, and like a few years ago, when I was still in my healing journey, I went to visit my parents, and they have two cats. And as I was playing with the cats and I was with my parents, I was like, oh my God, this is what unconditional love is. Because they were just like, with these little eyes. So I'm pretty sure there was part of this connection with your animal as well that may have given you that strength, and like this deeper understanding that that there's more to life than what you just discovered, and it's just about going and finding out. So do you remember what you did in terms of like, have you started doing courses in personal development, or did you find a coach, or just listen to podcasts? Like, was there anything specific that you were doing, or was it more just mindset and outlook at the world?
Yeah, the actual big thing that I did at that time was I had already signed up for a yoga membership
Mm.
and was going to yoga. I had moved to LA from Colorado, and in Santa Monica, I went to Yoga Work. So shout out to them for being there. And I had walked by, and there was this like strong pull of, oh, 2 week free trial. Okay, I'm gonna try that. So I had signed up for it, and then I had fallen in love with it, yoga. And I did like a whole year in advance and everything because it was so amazing that the thing that helped me the most was I would go to yoga classes and I would go to 3 or 4 in a row, and I wouldn't even leave. I would just stay for the next one, stay for the next one. And I didn't even talk to anyone. Like, this was at a time in my life where I just was going through it and I didn't even talk. I didn't chat with anyone, didn't share who I was, didn't chat even with the teachers. And I just sat and did the yoga poses, listened to the philosophy of what people shared, what the teachers shared, and how they wove in their messages. And I just soaked that up like a sponge. And that was really what started everything. Um, yeah, I think that inner reflection and alone time within myself, even though there was other people around me, I didn't even like really, that didn't matter. I
Hmm.
was going so far inward with the yoga that it helped me heal. It helped me process. It helped me see life through a new perspective. And then becoming a yoga instructor later on because I was so inspired by how much of a transformation I had and how much it helped me and saved me, that I thought I need to become a yoga instructor to also help more people, because I feel like that's how we get into this kind of work. Is it has changed us in such profound ways that we get so inspired and motivated, like, I need to share this, I need to do this too to help more people. And that's really how that all started.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, totally. I agree. Whatever we come through, whatever obstacles we are able to transmute for ourselves, we like, oh my God, like, why is no one talking about it? How can I help others? Because once you go through it, you realize that it's actually not as difficult. It's just the first step, and kind of looking differently is a bit difficult at the beginning, but then you can find a hope in this whole process as well, and that's enough to carry you through all the tougher bits of the journey, because there are obviously tougher bits as well. So you said that you became a yoga teacher, but right now you are a sound healer, and I know you are very into sound healing, and we will talk about this as well in a minute. But so how did this yoga teaching thing, did you end up being a yoga teacher for a few years, and how did that evolve?
Yes, so I actually, when I was going through that depression and I was taking yoga for myself, I actually was in more of the corporate field. I was in sales and marketing and still was in events and promotions, but in a different aspect, more of like a management role and hiring people and that kind of thing. And what happened was I got a marketing job in San Francisco and was there in person, going to work every day. And I was so miserable. It was like that depression was hitting me again and in a slightly different way, but I was miserable. Like I would come home from work and just want to be upstairs in bed with the lights off and just lay there. I feel like it's moments like that that the universe is trying to tell you with warning signs and messages that this is not the path for you, you know? And luckily, I listened to that. And then I quit my corporate job and I had been looking at yoga teacher trainings and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to sign up for a yoga teacher training. I was so shy and embarrassed, though, to even tell people about it. I didn't even tell anyone that I was even doing it. Every time people would ask, they would say, oh, Danielle, what are you doing next? Like, what's
Mm.
going on? And because I had given my 2 weeks notice, it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm still figuring it out because I didn't want to, there's all this kind of stigma around if you don't have your shit together, then people look at you funny, like, what is she doing? She's gonna mess up
Yeah.
her life, or
How dare you quit your
what's
job if you don't have every single other step figured out already? Yeah.
right? Yeah. So and that was just in my mind of their thoughts, their judgments, because that's how much I was judging myself too, I guess.
Yes.
But like big time. And then I just left. And then I right away started taking a yoga teacher training. I did a 1 month immersion with Yoga Works in Santa Monica in LA, amazing teachers. And then right after that, I thought, I really want to take my advanced teacher training. So I did the 300 hour, then I took extras after that. And then I was teaching yoga for a few years. And I still do teach yoga at my retreats or special events or with sound healing sometimes, but I'm not a yoga teacher like on a regular class schedule. It's just not something that I want to have that type of time commitment and schedule with now. But that's really me jumping ship from corporate world going into the health and wellness field. Yoga was the first thing, and then I started to become a meditation teacher. Then when I was teaching restorative yoga, yoga nidra, doing meditations, I had this calling for connecting more with sound and music to help people drop into that state, to ease stress, to help their nervous system, especially having learned a lot about how to drop people in. And then that's when sound healing kind of transpired and added that into what I do now.
What a beautiful journey. I think we do everything that we do is important, right? Is even like you said, you don't really do yoga teaching, you're not really a yoga teacher anymore, but it gave you all of this internal wisdom and put you on this path, right? And you can still use it in your business as you wish. So even like with me and my Muay Thai, when I got injured, I was like, oh well, what was the point? There was this thought of like, I spent so many years doing this, and now I like it's gone in a matter of seconds. But with time I was like, no, like everything, it prepped me for the healing journey. It taught me so much resilience and other things that I can now use in a business, that I can, even if it's not exactly clear to others, in here how it's helping you. So it's beautiful that you've done this. It's like a spiritual journey by itself, with yoga and with everything that led you to sound healing. But one more question before we go into sound healing, because I know this is the baby. This is your whole world. So before we go into the transformative qualities of sound healing and what it can get, would you be able to speak to during this transition from the corporate world, from the Danielle that everyone knew, to this more calm Danielle, this spiritual Danielle, this Danielle that probably acts differently and thinks differently. Was there any challenges? Was there anything that you had to let go of and maybe had a hard time of letting go? How did that transition kind of happen for you? Because normally we have quite a few challenges coming from a completely masculine kind of, structured world into this more, I'll go with the flow, I'll listen to my gut, and I'll follow my own guidance.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many things. I would say the first thing that comes to mind with having that shift was I wasn't really much of a partier per se or drinker, but after divorce and after just kind of like, phew, got a little wild, Danielle, I really had a hard time judging myself and judging I was regretting a lot of decisions that I made.
Mm,
And that was a really hard thing. And there was in that party phase, like a different Danielle, I met people that were very much into partying and stuff like that too. But then when I wanted to jump ship into this more holistic health and healing and like different lifestyle, I really had to remove myself from all of those people, if not all of them or most of them. And
hmm
that was a little hard because I knew that there was judgment on the other side of what the heck is Danielle doing? Why is she like this? Why is she pushing us away? That kind of thing. So that was really hard. But in the end, when I look back at it, I really do think that if we want to shift our life and have a different lifestyle, we have to let go of people, habits, environments, and situations and jobs, all of the things that are holding us back from really going forward. And, it kind of has this, you have to have this strength, determination, and it's it can be really difficult because some of the people that you really love and love hanging out with might not support your new version of yourself. So that's a really hard one. That was a hard one for me. I just beat myself up about it for a long time and it took a while to kind of get through it and I just had to forgive myself and also trust that this was for my highest and best self and that if they are meant to come back in my circle or realm, then they will. And if they're not, then that's okay too. But I have to just honor that. I don't think I would have been able to accelerate on my healing journey as quickly if I would have stayed surrounded by certain people, situations, and things, really.
Yes.
Um, yeah, which
I
I'm sure
think
you've probably experienced too, right?
yes, exactly. I was just about to say that this is, I think, very common on anyone's kind of journey, especially that most of us really come from like either this partying life or just like a completely different lifestyle. And this healing journey and transformation journey is much more balanced, right? Like it's much more calm. And before we used to be tense, we used to be like just a different lifestyle. And one thing that you said is very, very relatable to me as well. That the what I found the not the easiest, but what would help me to let go of people, especially because sometimes it's easy to leave the habits or even the job or something like that. But the people I would say are the hardest to accept that we need to separate ourselves and go our new path because they are just not on the same journey. But knowing that or like having this realization that if we are meant to be together at any point in the future, then it will happen. Maybe they will come on the journey, maybe life will bring us together again. So it's kind of like separating yourself but still wishing them all the best, still like but not being emotionally attached, because and I had a very hard time letting go of people because they helped me as well, or there's like this there's this guilt connected with it, right? Because like how dare you go about your own life and choose yourself rather than maybe stay in the relationships that that they're not really serving where you're going, because it's just a completely different path. So thank you for speaking to this. I think a lot of people may find that very useful, and I think the more we talk about it, the more people will just feel a little better in their own situation, right? Because we tend to think that, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe it's just, maybe I should stop doing. Maybe there's a lot of guilt, I think, connected with letting go of people. Um, so yeah, what helps me usually is just knowing that if we're meant to be together, our paths will cross again, and that is enough to make the decision and choose myself and follow what my heart or my soul wants me to do. Was there anything else from challenges that you think that maybe one other that was kind of difficult or?
Yes, I think that one of the other things that was hard for me was letting go of the idea of, okay, I need to be at this point in my life, at this age, I need to be this successful, and I should have a significant other by this age, and I should be married by, you know, or whatever idea I thought in my head of where I wanted to be, also, because I think society puts a lot of those things on us, but then we also do too. So, letting go of that and just trusting and understanding that I need to process and go through my own healing journey before I can go and do those things, before I can go find that partner, before I can go find, and make those other steps. So letting go of that, which can be really challenging too, because to be honest, you go see on social media, or you go see your friend, or you go even look at your neighbor and you see them so happy and with their kids and they're playing and all these things, are going on vacation. It's like, oh gosh, why am I not there yet?
Mm,
And we get stuck in this kind of comparison instead. Or on the other side of that too, I remember seeing yoga instructors that were thriving and so successful and had a great following and really helping people. And I was like, shoot, I wish I was there. Like, why am I not there yet? And here I am on the very beginning of that part of the journey. So I think we can get stuck in the comparison very quickly and easily. And instead, I try to reframe that now, which was very difficult in the beginning, but I reframe that now to say, okay, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. So let their success be an inspiration for me instead of, why the heck am I not there yet? What's wrong with me? Why is it taking so long? Because that can happen too. And then there was something else I wanted to share about that, is the things of letting go. Oh, was for me personally, because I was going to so many yoga classes in a row, it was almost as if I was on my own inner retreat, or like my own personal retreat. And I think that retreats, they are very popular, but I also want to point out that when people go on a retreat for a transformation, it can really accelerate where you go and how fast you go, depending on whose retreat you're going on, because it takes you out of your comfort zone, it takes you out of your environment,
mhm,
and removes you from those distractions and people and situations that might like easily slip you back into old ways. And I think that's a really great way of how you can like rise up and accelerate your journey, and not have so many distractions, because I think a lot of times we let other people's thoughts and opinions kind of dictate what we want to do and where we want to go. But when you go on a retreat, whether it be a silent retreat, a vipassana retreat, a meditation retreat, a yoga retreat, whatever it might be, you know, you get to really sit with yourself and see, well, what does Danielle want to do? What does Maggie want to do?
mm.
And without the whole world shouting at you with what you need to be doing and should be doing, well, what is it that makes you really happy? So that's a big one to help people.
Yeah, I think I can totally relate to this. And it's definitely been part of me letting go of my own patterns, because my pattern was always to do everything by myself. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get all the knowledge and I'm just going to do it. And because that's the only way I can then be proud of my accomplishment or whatever the story was that I was telling myself. I probably didn't even think what is the actual story, right? But it wasn't until I went into the retreats or I went into smaller group coaching environment when I couldn't hide behind the camera when there was hundreds of people, but I had to speak every single call and show up and show my face, which was super out of my comfort zone. But that's when the whole growth happened. That's when this whole idea of Maggie being someone completely different started to feel like, oh, this is maybe possible for me. This is not just a dream in a faraway future. This is something that I can actually make happen. But for me to even be in this headspace, I had to put myself out there. I had to do things that Maggie a few years ago wouldn't have done because she would be too scared of, or she would be too stubborn of doing, right? And the comparison, yeah, and the comparison trap is also super real, I think, especially for any of coaches, healers, anyone that works in an online space like us. Even the likes and the comments, and it's a funny way of navigating these things. But I think, like you said, it's amazing to just see someone else's success as your permission slip to be like, oh, hey, they can do it, so can I. But I'm going to obviously do it with my own flavor, with whatever is my gift, because it's not about copying someone, because you can't really copy anyone, right? Like we each and every one of us has our own unique gifts, our quirks, and putting it all together and staying authentic is what will attract our dream clients and the people that would want to work with us. Because really, who works with you, they work with you not just because of your wisdom, but also because of your personality and what you bring to the energy that you bring to the courses and to the retreats and all of that, right? So I think it's really important to stay authentic. And to do that, it's good to know who you are and go through all this healing journey and transformation journey to know what your values are, to know who you really are, so then you can show up like that without comparing yourself, without worrying. Um, okay, so let's go into sound healing. We know already how you transition to it, but tell me a little bit more about I know you're fascinated with it. I know it's a fascinating thing, right? Because the sound can heal us. It's actually the vibrations and everything can help us heal, can help us calm our nervous system. So maybe tell us a little bit about sound healing, what it is, what are the benefits of it, talking to someone that perhaps doesn't really know much about sound healing at all.
Yeah, so sound healing, a sound bath, a sound journey, all of those words can be used interchangeably. They all mean the same thing. And it's an experience through sound. And usually, as a facilitator, a sound healer, sound artist, sound practitioner, whatever you want to call it, they are intentionally and mindfully using instruments that take you on a journey through sound and to have a certain theme. Like maybe it is physical healing, maybe it's to ease anxiety, maybe it's to help process grief, maybe it's to release a stagnant energy or emotion that you're going through. Or maybe it's just finding a deeper connection to yourself and really just finding inner peace and quieting the overactive mind that keeps racing. So, a sound bath essentially is you're bathing in the energetic frequencies of the instruments. And scientifically, what's happening is when the instruments are being played, it creates sound waves. And the sound waves are traveling in the air through the particles, and then they enter your system. And it's almost as if the sound waves are saying, hey, hop on this wave with me. So then you're coming into coherence and alignment with those frequencies, which is called brain entrainment, which allows you to come into those frequencies and have this beautiful, easy kind of surrender and process of allowing the sound waves to do their magic on you. And I say magic, but it is science too. I love the science and spirituality of both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the sound waves are able to drop you into what's called a theta brainwave state. And the theta brainwave state is right before sleep, right before delta. And theta brainwave state is when you are also starting to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is like your fight or flight. That's I got to get this stuff done. I'm driving in the car. I'm multitasking. Who's in my rearview mirror? Oh, I got to take a phone call. That's like your fight or flight in our everyday kind of scenario. That's our fight or flight. When we're in that constantly, we're not giving our mind, our body time to rest and rejuvenate itself because we are so pumped with cortisol and adrenaline from that fight or flight response of being on all the time that no wonder why people have insomnia and can't even sleep at night because they're just like, oh, your body is pumped and full of adrenaline. It's not going to calm down just like that. So the sound waves kind of drop you into that theta state, which activate parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, which literally activates your natural body's ability to heal itself. So that's hence the term sound healing. People always wonder like, well, is that sound healer healing me? No, we're holding space for you to do the healing, for your body to turn on its healing mechanism. And it's also through your intention too. Your intention is super powerful. Setting the intention of I'm open and surrendering to healing is profound in itself. And that's going to help the session and help you receive. So that's kind of what sound healing is in a nutshell and what it's doing to you. The benefits are tremendous. It's pretty much the same benefits as meditation. So
Mm.
easing and relieving stress, anxiety, overwhelm, depression, processing grief, helping you sleep, having more productivity, sparking more creative ideas, a clear thinking mind, ability to focus and concentrate, but then also be able to go to sleep at night and have restful sleep and stay asleep throughout the night and feeling recharged the next day and connecting to you, to the ancestors, a spiritual realm, like connecting to yourself. So many amazing benefits. It's incredible.
Hmm. I totally agree. I wanted to just ask one other question because this is something that I have been going through in my sound healing journeys. Because every time I would go, I would always be with like even in our retreats that we did together. People would always have visions, or I would hear people telling how they traveled somewhere, or they heard a message, or they saw something or someone. And with me, with the sound healing, I didn't have any of those experiences, right? But I definitely felt in my body that it's much more relaxed and it's much more calm and all that. But I feel like a lot of us, because we used to this fight and flight, right? That just having our body in this very, very calm state is not good enough of the effect. So I remember thinking, oh, am I doing this wrong? Am I like, what's wrong with me? Other people have this vision. So can you speak to that a little bit? Because obviously I know now that I haven't been doing anything wrong, and that was already a huge effect on my body just by just feeling it. But perhaps you have something more profound to say around this, because I believe that I'm not the only one that had this experience and maybe had this voice in my head that, oh, am I doing it right? Because I don't have all these other things that other people are having.
Right. No, that's such a great concept to think about. And thank you for sharing that because, yeah, I think a lot of times we compare ourselves to what another person's experience has been and what result or benefits they had. But it's really different per person and it's different per sound bath. I mean, you could go to a sound bath from the same exact person, facilitator, a week later, and you will have a completely different experience. And it really comes down to, lots of things. I mean, it comes down to, well, did you have caffeine that day? Did you have good night's sleep the night before? Do you have something going on in your life that's stressful? Have you been on fight or flight response for too long and too much? Are you open to this? Where's your mind at right now? There's all of these components and variables that have an impact on the experience that you have. And also the type of facilitator, too. What instruments are they using? What's their intention? What are they doing to hold space and have you go on this journey? So there's lots of different things that correlate to the type of experience you have. But if you always come in with a clear mind, no expectations on the session, and sometimes you're having visions and or you're not having visions and other people are, it doesn't mean that you're not doing it right. It just means that in that moment, that's what you needed. In
Yes.
that moment, if you just laid down and you were like, "Oh my god, I feel so relaxed," that's what you needed. And just being open to whatever experience. I think, going before going to a yoga class, a meditation, like literally anything, the more that you can just say, okay, I'm letting go of all expectations and I'm allowing this experience to unfold exactly how it needs to happen for me, then you'll be open to receive what you need and just understand that that's what I needed in that moment. If I fell asleep, okay, I needed to fall asleep. I needed a little
Yeah, that's also
mini
there's
adult
few
nap.
ones that like people just fell asleep completely, and I was like, oh, look at them being super relaxed. But that's probably an indication how much their body must have been in this fight and flight that it's probably just went, switched off because it was finally so relaxed, right? Or that's at least how I'm thinking of it. But yes, thank you for speaking to it because I no longer do that. I no longer compare myself. Like sometimes I do have still because it's we're humans. We wired that way. We kind of we see something someone else had, so we're like, oh, I want to have it too. And especially that I'm working on my connection with the spirit guides and all that. So every time I'm like, oh, she just traveled there. I'm like, oh, I want to do this as well. But I keep coming back to what you said. Like we getting exactly what we need at the right moment, and this beautifully comes into this whole art of letting go, as I call it, because I have to let go of the expectation. I have to let go of this is how I want it to show up for me because it's outside of my control. I can't predict what the sound bath's going to give me, right? Like I can think I know what I need, but my body knows better. My soul knows better. So I will receive, so trusting that I will receive everything that I need in this moment and that is going to be enough is part of letting go of this control, part of letting go of this idea that we know what we think we know, which is kind of like an illusion, right? Because life is beautiful when we start accepting this unknown and letting in the universe to show us what we need and just kind of go with this, right? Instead of being like, I want it that way and then I'm going to do it this way and then this is what's going to happen and let's go with that. And I think sound healing is very, very nice for, especially for overthinkers, I would say, for anyone that is very much in their head. It's kind of like um a very simple way, a very simple practice, because all you do is lie down and you listen to the sound. So you don't have to, like if you go therapy or if you go even meditation might be harder because you sit on your by yourself, whereas sound healing is usually in a group. So it's a nice environment, a collective energy as well. So I would personally highly recommend to anyone that hasn't done it before, and especially if they're like me, before I ever done it, that oh, it's not working or it's not this and that. Just give it a go and let go of any expectation and just be more observant, right? Like be more observant and be like, oh, this is how my body feels now, and just accept that this is exactly what you needed to have. And maybe in another journey there's going to be a different experience, because like you said, every single sound journey, it's different because every day we are different, right? Well, we can, especially if we're growing, but even if we're not growing, life is going to give us different challenges. So one day you may be more prone to certain things, one day you may be too tired or too much in your head. um
One thing I want to mention about that too is, you know, when you try something for the first time and you didn't like it or it didn't feel right, or try again, because you never know who you might get that day or what you have going on. That, keep trying sound baths and keep going to them, because it's not just like one and done and that's it.
yes.
I think of it kind of like the gym. If you go to the gym once, yeah, great. You feel great that one day, but it's really the consistent practice that you start compiling on the progression and having different results and having even a transformation from going to the gym. And it's the same kind of thing with meditation or yoga or sound baths. Keep going and have a consistent practice and notice what shifts for you. So much changes when you go to a sound bath, but it's a matter of surrendering. I want to mention this too because as a yoga instructor, meditation teacher, sound healer, it definitely has made it a little bit more challenging for me to go to
Mhm.
classes. And I have to say, okay, Danielle, let go of any judgments or expectations of this class, surrender and allow this person to create the experience. And I don't need to come up here and start thinking, why is she doing this? Why are they doing that? Why is he saying, why are we doing this right now? Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
make
And
any
this is,
sense.
thank you. Thank you for sharing this because that's actually very real. Same with coaches. You go to a different coaching session and you're like, well, I would have done it differently, or I would have, like you could, because because this is what you do. But everyone has their own approach and a gift, and we can get so much more out of the experience if we just allow to receive, right? Instead of being like, well, because I know what's going on, then I would have done it better or I would have done it differently. You're kind of like blocking yourself to receive the magic of the person if you, because you're still in your head, right? And it's,
Right.
yeah, it's the yoga, it's all of those practices, which actually leads me to my last question, that I would like you to maybe share for anyone that well, really for anyone, but specifically maybe for people that do not have yet the practices in their life, the habits that help them maintain this calmness, this inner peace, this kind of like, because everything that we've been talking about today, I feel like this is a beautiful lifestyle to keep you grounded, to keep you more capable of handling any challenges, right? Because once you're grounded, once you know of who you are and know that anything that is happening for your highest good regardless, then it's just such a much nicer place to tackle anything that comes your way. So would there be any practices that you would recommend for people to implement in their daily routine or weekly routine that can help them stay grounded, stay connected?
I would say that asking your own intuition of what's the best thing for me to do in my life right now? What practice, what ritual speaks to me and would help me the most? Because I think everyone's journey is different, that maybe at someone's point in their life, maybe meditation would be great, but maybe fitness first is actually really great, like going through a strong vinyasa flow or going to a yoga a workout class, and then maybe meditation later on. Maybe they need to kind of exert that energy and stagnation first. So I would say first ask your intuition to see what would it be. And I remember when I was in the beginning of my journey, I kind of wrote down all the different things that I could do, like journaling, yoga, meditation, a sound bath, outside hiking, nature, listening to a podcast. I wrote down all of these things. And I think that we get in our own mood each day. Like, what do we have going on that day? What are we feeling? So maybe write down a list of all the things that you could do or that you're kind of interested in. And then each day, look at that list and say, what do I want to do today? What do I want to do right now? And then that way it gives you a little bit more control and kind of in the moment decisions of connecting to your intuition to see which one would be best for you. And it kind of is like an easier approach because if I were to say, oh, you definitely should meditate every single day, I'm going to lose a ton of people. They're like, no, I'm not into that. So, yeah, I agree. Maybe you're not into that at this moment in your life. What else are you interested in? And just start by doing a little practice each day, whatever on the like a list of 10 different things, what interests you in that moment that day, what feels good, and honor that. Like, trust your body's ability to tell you what you need the most.
I totally agree. I think there's more than just one practice, right? And because we're so versatile and we change every day, there's a different thing. It's even if you love meditation, you may wake up and feel like, well, I don't feel like meditating today. Maybe I feel more like dancing or going for a walk. And I think important thing as well, on top of having that list, which is a great idea, especially for the beginners, if you're not sure what it is that you love, just keep writing. Like the list doesn't need to be complete already now. Like keep adding things to it if there's something you noticed. So that gets me just to say that be an observant, be a bit more in tune with what that activity brings you. If you go to yoga, don't just go and do yoga. Pay attention to how you feel before and how you feel after, so you can notice those changes. Because sometimes there are very subtle changes that make can come unnoticed if we don't pay attention to them. So the more we know ourselves, the more we know what brings us a release, a joy, a calmness. Then the better we can be at picking what we need at any given time, right? So I totally agree with the whole list of things. I have at least 10 different activities that I love to be doing, and I don't have a strict regime like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to do this. I try to implement at least one. I usually implement at least one or two every day, but it's not a fixed list that I'm always going to have to adhere to, because that's boring, that's demanding, that's not always fun, right? So thank you for sharing this. I think that's a great advice. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe you can tell us if you have any offerings, or how can our viewers contact you, or what do you help with? We will link anything um, under the video. But I know that you do retreats. I know that you do sound healing. So maybe just let us know how people can work with you.
Yes, thank you. So, I do teach an online sound healer course for you to either create a personal self care ritual using sound bowls, or if you want to start becoming a sound practitioner and leading sound baths for your friends, your family, your community, then the course is perfect for you. And I also have an in person class for more hands on learning. I lead retreats in various places. I also sell the Crystal Tone sound bowls. I'm a Crystal Tones partner. And I also sell all sorts of sound healing instruments, from gongs and chimes and crystal harps and all the things. So if you are interested in sound, energy, vibration, then definitely reach out to me. You can go to my website, danielleklein.com, and also on Instagram. I love sharing little inspirational mini sound baths, knowledge, anything around sound energy and vibration. So I'm at Spiritual Biz Coach on Instagram.
Perfect. Yeah, I totally recommend Danielle for anyone that wants to figure out even what sounds supposed to use or what instruments. You have a tremendous knowledge in this department. Every time you share something more around the technical stuff and sound healing, I'm always impressed and see how much you really know, and that's really beautiful to notice. I know this is like your you found exactly the thing that I think you were meant to be doing, because you're not only really good at it, but I can tell you're very passionate. And I know few people that done the course with you and there were raving reviews. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me, sharing about your story and some of your struggles with us. I think that's going to be very relatable to a lot of people. So thank you for being vulnerable and honest, and for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I always love seeing you, and I'm really glad that we had this conversation today, and sending lots of love to everyone on their journey of life.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.